And joining us will also be the City of Mount Laurel Pipes and Drums. Following the presentation, fellows please be standing for the playing of the national anthem and patriotic song by Gregory Sneed. Long command, uniform personnel and military veterans may salute. All others, please place your hand on your heart.
Good morning.
I'm Dave Gazelle, Fire Chief of the City of Clermont. On behalf of the City of Clermont, the Clermont Fire Department, the Clermont Police Department, it is our honor and privilege to welcome you and thank you for joining us today for the City of Clermont's 9/11 Memorial Ceremony. Joining us today are a number of dignitaries that we would like to recognize and thank for attending. I have to apologize, they made my list extremely small, so I had to borrow my wife's readers. So It's a lengthy list, so as I call your name, I would ask the audience to hold your applause to the end. So we have with us today Congressman Dan Webster and his assistant Pam Jones, State Representative Taylor Yokoski, State Attorney's Office Bill Gladson, State Representative Keith Kunow, our Supervisor of Election Alan Hayes, and with the City of Clermont we have our Mayor Ted Murray, our City Manager Brian Boltheis, our Deputy City Manager Scott Davidoff, our City Council members Michael Gonzalez, Jim Purvis, Ebo Insua, and Michelle Pines. Joining us from Mineola, we have a Vice Mayor, Debbie Flynn, and we also have Senator Victor Torres with us today, and former Osceola Sheriff Russ Gibson, and City of Apopka Commissioner Diane Belaquez. So thank you. In addition, we have some other special guests in attendance today that we would like to recognize. When called, please rise and remain standing. Pete Capice, retired supervising fire marshal with the FDNY. Peter worked with the FDNY for 20 years and relocated to Clermont in 2005. Since that time, he has been active within the community and coordinated the donation of a piece of scarred steel from the Twin Towers, which he presented to the Clermont Fire Department at the 9/11 ceremony in 2009. The steel is proudly displayed in front of Clermont's Fire Station 1 next to the American flag. The Peraza family. Robert Peraza will always be remembered as a Kingsbridge community member and past speaker at one of Clermont's 9/11 ceremonies. On 9/11, Robert lost his 30-year-old son, who was on the 104th floor of the North Tower just above where American Airlines Flight 11 hit the building. Jocelyn Ramos, whose father was in the World Trade Center at the time of the attacks, and has since passed on because of the injuries he sustained that day. And for anyone else that's a family member of anyone who was lost on 9/11 or at any time since because of 9/11, please stand. And if there are any other family members of first responders who were lost on the line of duty at any time, at any incident, please stand. And if there are any military Gold Star family members in attendance with us today, please stand. There are not words to be said that can heal the grief that you undoubtedly still feel even years later. Know only that those around you and countless others in communities all across our great nation, not just today, but every day, recognize your sacrifice and that you have earned our eternal gratitude for giving more than is ever expected of anyone. We will not allow the memories of your loved ones to be extinguished. Rather, we will continue to build a legacy in our current and future members that embodies the service, courage, and valor that they all stood for. On behalf of us in the first responder and military services, thank you. We will never forget. Today marks the 22nd anniversary since the morning of the 11th of September of 2001, when the United States suffered a series of unprovoked and cowardly attacks by terrorists who used hijacked airliners to target the World Trade Center's Twin Towers in New York, the Pentagon in Virginia, and a fourth target in Washington, D.C., presumably the United States Capitol building or the White House, that was prevented by the heroic efforts of the passengers on United Airlines Flight 93. Who resisted the hijackers and resulted in the plane crashing in a field out in the outskirts of Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The attacks that day claimed the lives of 2,977 people, including 415 first responders and 55 military personnel. Additionally, there were more than 6,000 others that suffered injuries that day from the attacks. Like many of us here today, the memories of that day are indelibly imprinted. I know exactly where I was, what I was doing, and I can remember that it was a Tuesday morning. At the time, I was a lieutenant in charge of a fire company, going through my morning routine when my battalion chief called me into his office just minutes after Flight 11 had crashed into the North Tower. As we watched the events unfold on live television, all I could think about is what would I be doing if I was on scene. The answer was simple. My crew and I would be going in to save as many people as we could. That's what we do. because there's something within each of us in public service that's answering a calling that's higher than ourselves. My chief and I both knew we were going to lose a lot of good firefighters that day, having no idea at the time how horrific the events that were about to unfold would be. A few minutes later at 9:03, we watched the news coverage as Flight 175 crashed into the South Tower. To this day, I can still remember the chill I felt when we both realized that this was an orchestrated and intentional act of terrorism. Then the Pentagon was hit at 9:37 by Flight 77, and we began
and rescue efforts. But the sad, stark reality was days, weeks, and months of search and recovery efforts. And ceremonies like this demonstrate that we will never forget. It's so much more than a slogan, cliche, or even a quote, but a commitment to honor, remember, and commemorate all of our fallen heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice 22 years ago, and those who later passed due to being exposed to the dangerous toxins. We will also remember all the lives lost in those buildings and on those planes. This ceremony also serves as a reminder of the value of humanity and how fragile life could be. But it's also a reminder of how resolute we are when we stand in unity against all forms of evil and hatred, and how truly blessed we all are to see another day. Every year we have several 9/11 first responders that attend this ceremony and military personnel that are here today. Several of them responded to Ground Zero, where we were involved in search and rescue, search and recovery. Several responded to the landfill in Staten Island, where they're bringing tons and tons of debris and laying it out. Trucks just bringing all this debris, and we would sit through debris looking for items to get back to the loved ones who lost that day. Some of us were assigned to the morgue, where we were assisting in identifying the deceased and remains. To this day, a large percentage of the remains still have not been identified